Good afternoon. Lately, I have been having this recurring dream, and happens right around, well, I wake up from it right around 2 o'clock in the morning, a little after 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's not every night, but it is recurring. And, well, there's a reason I bring this dream up. But first, let me explain the dream to you, because there's a counterpart to the dream that I just found out this morning. The dream is that I'm standing in the darkness and I see this hawk flying at me, but the wings are very, very angular, and they almost have like a chromium glow to the outline of them. And as the hawk gets closer and closer, it obviously gets bigger, but then it starts to take on more of the normal, natural form of a hawk, and the underbelly is silver or white, and from that is emitting a glow which illuminates the wings and the head, the tail. The hawk flies directly over me and then turns and flies toward the horizon. And as the hawk gets further away, then the wings begin to take on that angular aspect with that glowing chromium type appearance until it vanishes out of sight. That's the dream. It's very distinct each time I have it, and it's the same each time I have it. And my mind was going in a certain area every time I saw it because of the story in the Poetic Edda of the Thrymskvitha, where Thor loses his hammer and he goes to Freyja, goddess Freyja, and wants to borrow her falcon feather cloak. And Freyja, who is a longtime friend of Thor, says that she'll gladly lend him the cloak, even though it's made of silver. But she would lend it to him even if it was made of gold. And she knew that Loki was going to don that cloak and ascertain the location of Thor's hammer. Now, Thor's hammer represents many things. Thor is the protector of gods and men. It represents the return of spring and fertility. It represents thunder and lightning, which return in the spring. It represents strength and honor. It represents protection of the young. It represents justice and light, because with spring comes light. When you shed light on something, you bring justice. So Thor's hammer has many applications to it. And we've lost Thor's hammer today as a people. I'll come back to that. Now, what I found out this morning was my wife was having a song that was stuck in her head. She'd wake up in the middle of the night with this song in her head all the time. And I know, you hate it when that happens. Hopefully it's a good song. The song it's by the Brothers of Metal, and it's called Prophecy of Ragnarok. Ragnarok. That time of year when darkness is upon the lands, when the fowl of the heavens, which we call Cygnus the swan, but the heavenly fowl, is making its flight across the sky. It comes directly overhead and then turns and flies toward the northern horizon, just like in my dream. Prophecy of Ragnarok. The song stuck in her head begins, Prophecy of Ragnarok, Twilight of the Gods, no escaping destiny when Baldur's gone. Baldur represents light, blazing light. He's not the sun, he represents light. That's why when Baldur is bleeding, that's the light that's being emitted from over the horizon in midwinter, that red glow, Baldur bleeding. So no escaping destiny when Baldur's gone. Snow and ice will freeze the world. Mountains crack. Anyone who's lived in the north, among the northern mountains, know there's a lot of sound with that deep winter where ice cracks and pops and you hear it zing across the lake and a cracking sound. Fenrir's fetters is no more. The sky is turning black. Prophecy of Ragnarok. Legend of our death. Time to be corroded by the serpent's breath. Riding through the wasteland. There's fire everywhere. Baldur bleeding. The gods won't be around to hear our final prayer. Then it goes into the chorus. And then just the next stanza of the song is Titans of justice. Fearless we stand. Odin, All-Father, are we blessed by your hand? Together we rise, together we fight. We ride into battle and into the night. The giants are raging. The gods meet their fate. The heavens crack open. Thunder falls through the land. Guardian of Bifrost is blowing his horn. We ride into battle and into the storm. That's just a couple of the stanzas. She was having that song replay in her head in the middle of the night, right when I was having my dream of the hawk flying in, right overhead, and turning toward the horizon in the darkness, from the darkness. The two are joined, the dream and the song. We have some dark times that we're in. Politically. I'll address that a little later. Right now, as has been done since the Abrahamic cults were invented, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, our women are under attack. Now, when I say our women are under attack, what do I mean? Okay? In pagan times, in northern pagan times, our system was a matriarchy. It was a matriarchal system. What does that mean? It means that women voted. Women chose leaders, Valtiosa, valiant choosers, which was corrupted into Valkyrie, scantily clad women sweeping the souls of people slain in the battle off to Valhalla. They chose leaders based on their courage, based on their strength and honor, based on their valiancy. Valiant choosers, Valtiosa. So they had voting rights. Not all women. Not all women. Maidens did not have voting rights. Only mothers. If you were a mother, you had skin in the game. And large families were sought after because having a child and every child thereafter was considered a blessing from Mother Goddess. Increase of the goddess, just like in spring. After Odin's time passes, and then we enter spring, we have rebirth, mother's time. We go from the maiden into the young, into the Maistone, when everything is green, the green leaf pole, midsummer. But right now we have this whole transgender movement where a man can dress and say that he's a woman and then compete in sports against biological women who could one day become mothers. Imagine, what's that? UFC cage fighting, where women train and train and train to go in there and match their talent, their capability, their strength, their art against another woman to become a champion. Fighters. Just like in our northern pagan days with shield maidens. Women who got married were expected to stand next to their husband in battle through the good times and the bad. They were given a shield as a wedding gift. Tacitus and Germania points this out. Now, a man dressed like a woman could hold the title of the women's UFC. And this goes to anything. It goes to soccer, any sport you want to plug into. And then that man who was dressed as a woman now can go shower in the same locker room after the sport with the women. This is an attack against everything women have regained since the religious cults of Abraham took it away from them, took away their voting rights, took away their right to fight in battle, to defend where they live, their people, their freedoms. This is just another attack against women. And if you say anything negative against it, then you've got some phobia or whatever. No, what you have is you have a severe case. If this makes sense, if what I'm saying to you makes sense, you have a severe case of what's called common sense. Now, to return to, well, with that part of the conversation, I never even left the darkness, did I? But to speak more directly about darkness. I have Christian friends. Some of them, and I don't want to paint with a broad brush. Sometimes you need an axe, sometimes you need a scalpel. So I'm not saying this about everyone that's out there. But some of the Christians are using the line, well, it must be God's will. We are living in the end times. There's nothing we can do. It's total lack of strength. It's a complete lack of strength. This weakness has been handed to them by Christianity. The unworthiness, the looking for someone else to do for them, to save them. And all they need to do is fall on their knees and pray, and they then consider themselves a warrior for Christ who puts on the full armor of God. And they think that the reason this is all happening is because we're getting further away from Christianity. No, that's not true. We are going exactly where the religious cults of Abraham have taken us. They are taking us right to where we are. They have subjugated the masses, made them effeminate, slothful, lazy, begging for someone to save them, whether that's a fictional Jesus or whether that's a president of the United States that steps in. The reason there was so much strength in Christianity early on, when it was first invented, was because of all of the new northern pagan converts. Even though they were forced to convert, they retained that strength of ancient paganism. And that strength still exists openly in some Christians. That is undeniable. I see some very strong Christians, not strong about the faith, because a lot of them don't even know what their faith is about, but they're just strong natured. That strength is left over. Maybe the more people know the Bible, or maybe the less people know about the Bible, the longer they retain that pagan strength. The issue is not the farther we get away from Christianity that we're having these problems and that we enter into more dark areas. The problem is the further we get away from that source of strength, which is northern paganism. It is the belief system and the culture of our ancestors and our ancient gods and goddesses. Our ancient belief system, our ancestors who honored that belief system and our ways and our culture, would never tell you you are unworthy. That came from the religious cults of Abraham. What our belief system teaches is that when Baldur is gone, you have to go into the darkness to get back the light. You have got to go you have got to follow the hawk, Freyja, the heavenly fowl, into the darkness. And you've got to battle during that Ragnarok. Life isn't about falling on your knees and praying for someone to battle. It's about going into the darkness and regaining that strength, that honor. Christians who are considering beginning that trek into the darkness to regain that ancient pagan strength, you have got to battle the darkness that was thrust upon your ancestors, and then by the third generation it was accepted as fact. Indoctrination, gaslighting. You've got to undo that. That is the initial darkness. You have got to go into darkness, and you have got to face down that Abrahamic God. You've got to defeat him in your mind. You have got to kill Jesus in your mind. He's a fake. He's made you weak. You'll come out stronger. Political darkness that we're in right now. You've got to go into the darkness. And you've got to do battle in the darkness, and you've got to come out stronger. To give up is a weakness. It's not expected from Mother Goddess or anyone who possesses the spirit of Odin, the spirit of our bear. People have got to allow themselves to remember their ancestry, their paganness, their strength, their honor. Get off of your knees. You are worthy. You are worthy. Odin has two ravens, Hugin and Munin. And I've made a video about Hugin and Munin, so I won't go into depth here, but Munin means memory, and that's the raven that he worries about the most, not coming back to him. Munin. He's worried about that not coming back to him. Odin also drank from a well. Odin drank from Mimisbrunn. It's called Mimisbrunn. Mimis, the S on the end dictates, is genitive. It dictates ownership. It's like putting an apostrophe in. So it's Mimi apostrophe S well. Who is that? What well is that? Well, the meaning of the name of the well's owner means memory. So Odin drank from memory's well, but he gave his eye. I know where Odin's eye is hidden. Deep in the wide-famed well called Mimisbrunn. Why is that important? Because our northern pagan ancestors believed that our soul, which is eternal, comes from the sea and then is given to us. We live our lives, and when we die, it returns to the sea and then is reborn from the sea. Reincarnation. So what is this sea? Where is this well that Odin's eye is hidden in? Well, I didn't have a big enough cauldron, so I downscaled my globe. This little fishing bobber here, we're gonna say, is this globe on a much smaller scale and different coloration. And then I have a cauldron that I burn my incense in. A well full with water. Mother Goddess Freyja's hall is called Fensalir. Now, if you look in the Abrahamic translation of our Poetic Edda, you will see that some translate that as bog halls, okay, and some translate it as sea halls. A fen, Fensalir. What is a fen? A fen is dark water. We've talked about this in previous videos. A fen is dark water. Solir is your soul, plural, soul. Soul, ir, ir is plural. So we have a soul of dark water. A fen over the globe, a fen over the earth. So here we have the earth, and here we have a fen. Okay, you get in the picture. You have a fen. When you're standing on earth and you look up, you are looking into Fensalir, a sea of ancestors, a heavenly sea, sea halls. Mimisbrunn. This is memory's well. This is where your ancestors, the memory of all of your ancestors are in this well. The soul waiting to be reborn. Remember, big families. Those souls waiting to be reborn are in memory's well. Have you forgotten? Wouldn't that be a shame? Odin's eye is hidden there. And what raven did he fear more wouldn't return? Munin, memory. In order to make it through darkness, you must have strength. In order to have strength, courage, honor, valiancy, you've got to remember where that strength comes from. It doesn't come from anyone who called you unworthy. It doesn't come from anyone who says you need to be saved. You worthless worm. It comes from Mimisbrunn. It comes from Fensalir, the rebirth of the Einherjar, the valiant warriors from Valhalla. Because as you look up into the well, you see all the constellations rotating around like a big yew tree with a center trunk that runs down, well, let's flip it this way, through the center of the bobber, through the center of the earth. You must go into the darkness, and you must battle those things to come out stronger. And sometimes it's a fight, but it's a fight that if you don't take, you never overcome those obstacles. So anyway, the hawk, the glowing hawk in the darkness, the prophecy of Ragnarok. A dream and a song. And once we put the two of them together, we knew what they meant. So, until next time, or wait a minute. I said, I know where Odin's eye is hidden. Deep in the wide famed well, Mimisbron, remember? Mimisbron. How do I know that's where Odin's left eye is? Odin's left eye is hidden in that well, always searching that well, always in contact with memory, strength, honor, valiancy, kin, folk, ancient ways. Here's how. Not going to leave you hanging. These are sky charts in our book, Northern Paganism, Choices and Growth. A book about Valhalla. You want a book about Valhalla? Talks about mistletoe. Talks about Baldur's death. Was it mistletoe that really kills him? It talks about the cycles of the year. Talks about the Feast of Valhalla. Talks about Valhalla, what it is and what it is not. So anyway, here is the spring sky. Now you'll notice in the spring sky, let me see if I can open that up better. You'll notice in the spring sky, way over here on the horizon is your cosmic fowl. Look how angular. Now, as you progress toward the summer sky, that cosmic fowl moves more overhead toward you. Then you go into the autumn sky. The cosmic fowl is directly overhead. And then you go into the winter sky, when the poison spewing serpent is upon the northern lands, the holy northern lands. And the cosmic fowl is reddened by Baldur bleeding, the blood eagle. So, we're told in Grimnismal that Odin is bound between two fires. The spirit of Odin passes through the fires of Blood Month, harvest, to Red Month, Vor, or the Fur, what we call spring. The spirit of Odin is bound between those two fires of the end of the pagan year through winter time. Remember, winter nights, Odin's time. So from autumn, harvest, or blood month, through all of winter nights, back around to spring is Odin's time. He is bound between those fires. What fires? The fires of Baldur's bleeding, the sun set, and the sun coming up from the Ostri, the east. The fires of spring. Odin is the spirit of our bear. when we look at autumn, that is mating season for our bear. Then we go to winter. The spirit of Odin is moving overhead, bound between the fires. What side of that bear are you looking at? You're looking at the right side. The left side of the bear is not seen. The left eye faces into Mimisbrún, deep inside the well of Mimisbrún. And Odin winds upon the mast, and Freyja gives her wake-up call to Brynhild, who is pregnant, saying, "Winding, give us Valhalla." Odin does not hang on a tree. Odin winds upon the mast. Odin is the spirit of the bear, and his left eye is in Mimisbrún. And you're looking at the right side of the bear. I know where Odin's eye is hidden, deep in the wide famed well of Mimisbrún. And now, this is the end. So, tills nästa gång, good health.